What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the Thursday, April 8th edition of Level Up Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John. We are all friends here at OTN, and I am joined, as always, by the king of the courtside, Joey, and we have a very special guest joining us today on Level Up Live. It is the queen of the seas. It is BBXH. D, thank you so much for joining us here on Level Up Live.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
We're super excited to have a fellow DMVer here on the show with us. We chatted before the show here a little bit. We all went to the same university. We all went to George Mason. So shout out to George Mason there, putting out some awesome talent there from the university. All right, Nation, before we get underway, make sure you follow the show here on our social media as well. You can follow us at Level Up Live, at LVLUP Live. And while you're on Twitter, if you're new, I know the Donut Crew, the Donut Club, pardon me, I think I got that wrong the first go around. The Donut Club is going to be joining us today.
All good.
So big shout out to everyone from D's channel joining us as well. Make sure to follow if you want to, if you like the show. If not, you don't have to follow us. I'm not gonna hold anything against you. Joey's at Courtside King, myself at Fiasco, and of course, if you're already following D, we have all of her information up on the slide as well. BBXH_ Twitch on Twitter. And of course, Twitch TV at /BBXH. You can find her there as well. And Nation, we do have a live version, which you're watching here live on Twitch of the show, but we also have a podcast version as well. Usually comes out roughly 12 hours after the show airs here on Twitch. And the Level Up podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. All right, Joey. So it's not a normal show today. We do have a guest on, so we're not going to be hitting all the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news, but instead we're going to dive a little bit more into gaming, into esports, into the streaming side here of the gaming industry as well. Let's just touch a little bit on the topics that we're going to be asking D today.
Yeah, absolutely, D. We're going to dive into your gaming history, talk a little bit about that, as well as your start up in streaming and casting. From there, we're going to dive into some tips for aspiring streamers. A lot of the people that watch the show and listen to the show want to look into becoming streamers or becoming gamers potentially on a more professional level. So diving a bit into that. And then we're going to take a sail into the sea of topics of Sea of Thieves, looking a little bit about the new season coming up. I know we can't talk too much because we're all under NDAs, but we're going to dive a little bit into it without going too much into detail of the excitement coming in that.
All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off. And I kind of want to go back to the beginning because D, you and I have a similar start when it comes to our passion and love for video games. And of course, we're going to go all the way back to the Sega Genesis.
Yes.
A console that I absolutely love. And D, I do have to ask from the get-go, did you ever use the Game Shark?
No.
No, you were never a Game Shark user?
So.
No,
I don't think so.
Good. I have to check. I have to make sure the integrity is intact there. The Game Shark, for some of our younger listeners out there, was a nice little way to cheat on games. Cheat codes were a thing, but the Game Shark was like the ultimate cheat code. Like you could just flip switches, and it was absolutely.
I think my brother used that. I'll rat him out. I'm pretty sure he did.
Of course.
I remember reading. I'm going to tell a small story. So I remember him having these instructions, probably from that for Resident Evil. Don't ask me which one. I have no idea. But he was asking me to read it to him as he played Resident Evil and watch him. And I distinctly remember saying, who wants to watch somebody play a video game instead of play it? And like, look at me now, that's what I do.
Hey, it's kind of funny because growing up also, my parents, they couldn't understand why I would go over to a friend's house and just hang out and watch them play video games. Like sometimes it was just more fun to watch them play than it was to actually play the game. And and now it's just kind of like it's an entire industry. It's absolutely insane. I do have to ask, what was your go-to game on the Genesis?
Oh man, we played a lot of Bubsy Bobcat. So my favorite movie of all time is The Addams Family, and we had an Addams Family game. And then I also liked Echo the Dolphin. And this is super nerdy, but speaking of cheat codes, you could type in codes for certain levels. And I just would sit there for so long just typing in random letters to see if it would ever find a level. And I actually did one time find some random level just typing in letters. I feel like, that's so boring. Who just sits there and types in random letters? I don't know.
Tons of people. I remember I remember for one game, I went online and printed out like maybe 4 pages of cheat codes for one game after I beat it, just because I wanted to play like 007, like GoldenEye back on the N64,
Oh, yeah.
big head mode, getting Odd Job and Jaws in there. You know, it just made the game so much more fun, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so I want to dive a little bit here into the streaming part of your career here. Streaming obviously is incredibly popular. More and more people join Twitch and other streaming sites. It feels like every single day looking to be that next big streamer, that next big content creator. You know, and sometimes it gets discouraging, it gets a little tough trying to build that audience. You know, what was your initial motivation to start streaming and make you decide to switch to a full-time streamer?
So I was playing Boom Beach at the time. If anyone knows Boom Beach, I think most people know Clash of Clans as far as Supercell games, but I was playing that and they were going to come out with the game Clash Royale. So I started playing Clash Royale, and it's way more strategic. It's a tower defense game. It initially was 1v1 tower defense. So kind of, think of like a game of chess, and you kind of are trying to predict your opponent's moves and things like that. So anyways, it was a game that I wanted to get better at. So we started watching people on Twitch to get better at it. And I have a background also in modeling and acting. As a teenager, I went to a school called Barbizon, which is, they teach you everything from stage presence and public speaking to confidence, how to do your hair, makeup, walk on a runway. I was super into that stuff. And I actually ended up working at that school for about 10 years. And then being involved in it as a teenager as well and doing different competitions. So I had that background in TV and entertainment in that sense. And obviously, like we chatted about, I grew up as a gamer. My older brother and I played all the time. So it was actually my husband. He's in IT. And he was like, you should do this. I think you would do this and you would be so great at it. And he's like, I will set up the full tech side. All you have to do is turn on the camera and go. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And I worked full time at the moment. I was a purchasing agent at a government contractor, like everybody is in the DC area. So I just did it in the evenings and on weekends. And then I eventually went full time because I started getting involved in casting with Clash Royale, because they started taking off and these esports events were happening. And it was such a small market. There wasn't a lot of options, I think, for people that were casters, and me as a streamer, I think, stood out. So I kept getting invited to do casting, which meant travel, and I had no leave time at my job. So I kind of came to a fork in the road where I needed to decide, do I want to continue doing this and pursue this as a career, or kind of give up on it a little bit and stick with my safer job? And I decided to give that job up, and I left and then became a full-time streamer.
Yeah, that's incredible. For Clash Royale, I know Joey was a big Clash Royale player.
Oh yeah.
I'll be honest. I'll be very upfront. I struggle when it comes to mobile games.
Yeah. Understood.
Joey has somehow convinced me to play Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and it's by far the longest time I've ever played a mobile game in my life. I think I'm over a month now into the game. It's absolutely insane to think about. I mean, Pokemon Go didn't even last that long with me.
Oh, I loved Pokemon Go.
I mean, I
played so much of it.
As soon as I caught Scyther, I was done. I was like, I got my favorite Pokemon ever. Like, I'm set. I'm good to go. There's no other reason to play this game. But yeah, it's really cool to see mobile games kind of like make that trek towards where we see other esports. It's not a League of Legends. It's not an Overwatch. But there's something different about mobile gaming that's even more of a broad reach to gamers all over. You don't have to have a powerful PC to play it. You don't have to have the knowledge. I'm gonna throw League of Legends under the bus here. You don't have to know 170 different characters and over 800 different items and combinations.
Oh God.
So
they are on mobile now officially. I saw a commercial for it the other day.
They are, but thankfully not 170 characters as of yet.
Thank goodness.
Give them time. It's right. You know they're going to be there.
That's true.
You know they're going to be there. But yeah, that's really cool. Making that switch to full-time streaming and also using your background to really help push that content, because, you know, it's not just about the game you play. A lot of times it's about that personality. You know, is the person good at the game? Yeah, but am I being entertained while I'm watching? Like, is the person making me laugh? You know, are they fun to be around? Are they positive? You know, personally, Joey and I, we both like positive streamers. You know, we do know there's another side to streamers out there that draws a lot of attention also. But we tend to stick towards the positive streamers ourselves, and we tend to see that works out more often than people being negative on stream.
True. I don't know. Like, for me, I definitely think as a streamer, you have to, like you said, you have to bring something to the table, whether you're really good at the game or you're entertaining, you're talkative, whatever it is. You have to have something that makes you unique or that draws people in. It's so much more than just turning on the camera and playing a game. There's so much more to, I mean, you can just do that, but chances are you're probably not going to have the numbers in those different areas that you want. But for me, I think it is like just having a positive attitude, because attitudes are contagious. And I don't know, a lot of people, especially now during COVID, need a safe space. I can't tell you how I mean, I work normal business hours pretty much, or at least a chunk of them. So I have a lot of people that work and lurk, and have me in the background. At least once a day, somebody comes in and says, hey, thanks for streaming and keeping me sane while I'm teleworking during COVID. And I appreciate that. I'm like, hey, you guys keep me sane too. So I do think it's important to have. And I think one of the things that I bring to the table as a streamer is the fact that I'm interactive, because not all streamers are like that. Not all streamers are actively reading their chat, or maybe they don't read all the messages. And even if it's super busy, I try to talk to everybody.
So before we dive a little bit more into your streaming background, a little bit more on Clash Royale, were you a play-by-play or color commentator?
Oh, I did both. I would do both, and I did hosting for it. So I got the opportunity to do a little bit of both, depending on who I was casting with, which was kind of fun. And I also casted Brawl Stars a few times, which is a newer Supercell game as well.
Wow, very cool stuff. And I have to ask one more question. Were you involved in the Clash Royale League as well when that launched?
I did the league. I didn't ever do CRL, but before that they had CCGS.
Okay.
Crown Championship Global Series. So that was the predecessor, I guess, of CRL. So I was all involved in that. I did 2 seasons with them. I did their World Finals. I hosted that over in London. That was probably like the pinnacle of my career right there. That was the biggest moment for me ever. And it was such a big deal.
Oh, that's so cool. So I guess the next thing, D, is you obviously stream a lot of Sea of Thieves. We've tuned into many Sea of Thieves streams, but we've also seen you stream a few other things. At this point, do you consider yourself a variety streamer, or still pretty much Sea of Thieves?
Definitely still Sea of Thieves. If I do other games, it's just kind of like here and there, or things, you know, towards the end of my stream for fun. But I'm pretty much full-time Sea of Thieves, because I mean, I learned that we were talking about like getting started with stream. I learned the hard way that it is really difficult to do variety. Unless you're one of these really, really big streamers, it's very difficult. So I try to stick to one game personally, but try to throw some in for your own sanity here and there.
Yeah, it looks like Astro Orbits in chat says, or if someone redeems a scary game for you as well.
Oh, yeah. I just finished Outlast not too long ago. Oh, terrifying.
I don't know about you. I don't do scary games very well. So full disclosure, I'm one of those people that when I go to a horror movie with my friends, everyone's scared and I'm usually the one laughing. Because I just feel like they're predictable. but when it comes to scary games, I don't know. It's something different about like being immersed, like in front of a screen playing a game, and, like getting into that lore, and then all of a sudden there's a jump scare, and it's like I don't scare well. I'm a very bad person to scare. So.
I don't know if you played Outlast, but so many moments are jump scares in Outlast, and there's just so many clips of it scaring the crap out of me and me screaming.
I feel like, what is the other big one right now? Phasmophobia?
Phasmophobia. I love that game. I played so much of that at Halloween. I would get terrified, but it was just like I don't know. I loved getting scared. I don't know why. I was obsessed with that game. I still love it.
You know, Joe, I find it funny that you know that, considering that our mutual friend Pat was playing, was it the medium, and you didn't want to play because it was too scary, and so we ended up just watching Pat play the entire time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like a love-hate for me. I like love getting scared, but also really hate it.
Yeah, it's like you get scared, like you feel your heart race, like okay, cool, I'm still
Yeah.
alive, but I'm not gonna sleep tonight now. It's
Yeah,
like,
pretty
I've been
much.
terrified for the past 2.5 hours here. So just kind of going back to like to people that are starting to stream.
Mhm.
It's obviously a long road. It takes a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment. Building an initial community. Obviously, you still consider yourself a Sea of Thieves main game streamer.
Mhm.
You know, the idea of sticking to a game or sticking to a genre, you said, usually plays out better if you are a variety streamer, if you're a larger name, maybe like a ninja kind of thing where he
Mhm.
kind of floats around a little bit. But at the same time, you as a streamer, it's nice to switch it up every once in a while. And I feel like you've solved that problem with playing, towards the end of your stream, a different kind of game to
Yeah.
keep it fresh and different there. But when you play a game like Sea of Thieves for so long, do you ever get, bored of like a certain part of the game, or like you try to mix things up and try to do something a little bit different, but the game may restrict it?
A little bit of both. I definitely get burnt out on Sea of Thieves. I think no matter what, no matter how much you love a game, if you're playing it every single day for so long, you will get burnt out of it. And maybe not everybody, but I certainly do. And it definitely gets to you. But I feel like at the same time, you have to decide for yourself as a streamer. Like, it is a business after all. So it's almost like making a business decision. So do I want to kind of forgo what I'm doing well at to, have a little fun or for my own sanity today? And one day the answer is maybe yes, and the other day it's no. That's the beauty, is you can do whatever you want with your stream, but it's definitely helpful to stick to it, and that's why I pretty much stick to Sea of Thieves. However, like you mentioned, the beauty of Sea of Thieves is that you can kind of play it however you want. So, I mean, if you want to go be sweaty and PvP with people, you can, or if you want to go chill, you can go fish in the game. So that has really made it helpful, especially from coming from a game like Clash Royale, where each match is obviously a little different. And for anyone who doesn't know it, like I mentioned, it pretty much picture 1v1 tower defense game, and you're building a deck of 8 cards. You're cycling through those cards. So it's a quick match, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. So it's so repetitive. And I feel like that game, it really burnt me out so hard. I'll be honest, like playing it so much. And I think some people don't realize that, maybe because if you're not streaming it or it's not your business, then you can kind of say, yeah, I'm sick of it, throw it to the side, but if I have so much respect for people that like Dead by Daylight or like Fortnite or Warzone, people that are playing these where it's a match over and over and over again. There's a lot to be said for that. That's they're thinking business wise in that decision as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a big congratulations on 5 years of streaming on Twitch. Believe it was March 31st was the anniversary date. So for a lot of people, making it maybe 6 months might be their goal, and obviously starting out small is probably the best way to start really growing, like hitting those small goals, because then you start to feel more positive about yourself as a new streamer and growing and growing and growing. Then maybe 5 years down the road, you can turn that into an awesome full-time business. Another thing that a lot of new streamers kind of get caught up by is just the equipment side. There's that notion out there that you have to have the best camera, you have to have the best PC, you have to have the most recent generation of console. Let's be real here. Nobody has a PlayStation 5 or a new Xbox Series S or X. It's just not possible. So it's tough. And that might be another hurdle to get into streaming. What's your advice for people that may not have the top of the line equipment, but still want to get into streaming?
And just start. You will progress and you will be able to invest as you go. You don't need, we were talking about my camera earlier. I've invested in this camera. I didn't start with this camera though, and I haven't even had it for probably half the time I've been streaming. Like, I started with a basic webcam, and I didn't always have this microphone, and it was something I worked towards over the years. Just start it. There's really, if you can just get yourself a basic, if you need a computer, obviously, or a console, and I recommend using a camera. You don't have to use a camera. There's tons of successful streamers out there that don't. Definitely makes it a little harder for yourself because you're losing that connection that you have with people from them seeing your expressions and your reactions. But just you can just get a simple camera, you can get a simple affordable microphone, and then just start it up. And then you could even put up goals for yourself and have once you build a community, maybe have them help you and work towards those goals. But there's just so many things that you can do. People think they need to go so fancy right off the bat, and I understand it, but you don't. Like, I used to have a green screen, but my green screen was seriously, you can go to Walmart and just buy a few yards of green fabric and just tack it to your ceiling, and boom, you have a green screen. And I mean, I used to use that. It was the most like whack looking setup, but nobody saw that. Nobody knew. And then you can just get a desk lamp, lighting will make everything great, but you don't need to buy fancy lights. You don't need a ring light. Maybe one day you can work towards it, but just take a normal light, take the lampshade off and let it be bright, or put yourself in front of a window if it's daytime, and boom. And there's just little hacks like that that don't really cost that much, and you'll upgrade as you go. So I feel like don't worry about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely great advice there. I feel like some of my friends who've tried to get into the streaming part of the gaming universe and entertainment universe, just they hit that roadblock, that mental roadblock that you have to have the best. And I'm sitting here trying to tell them, like, when Joey and I first started this podcast, Joey, I'm going to out ourselves. We used we were in a room that was not made to record anything in, using microphones
very echoey.
That should not have been used with the improper settings. And it probably took us a good 40, 50 episodes of our own show here before we finally got into that cadence and felt like we were actually making something people enjoyed. And then over time, we started to see that audience build and build and build. So I 100% agree, and I'm pretty sure Joey will agree too, that, just starting, just getting your foot down and say, hey, this is something I want to do and I'm passionate about. That's really the first step, and that's the biggest first step. Don't worry about that cost entry. Don't worry about having the latest and greatest. Just get right to it.
Did you guys ever
do
the whole
on camera as well, D? Like, even with the scary games you mentioned earlier, like, it just adds that element to it. Seeing you jump out of your chair or whatever is a way for audiences to connect. Yeah,
that's the fun part of it. It really is. And you're missing that. And again, like, it's definitely, that's another thing that I feel like if there's people out there that I know it makes them maybe anxious to have a camera, then so what? Just start streaming without a camera. And then maybe if you get comfortable, then turn your camera on or turn it on sometimes. But I feel like don't let those silly things like that hold you back, and then you still have your voice to communicate with people as well.
Absolutely. So sticking with tips for aspiring streamers, what are your thoughts on putting things on YouTube as well? Do you feel that that's worthwhile for new creators out there?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, there are so many people. I feel like Twitch is so hard to grow on because discoverability on Twitch is very difficult, because if you are just starting out, people usually have to scroll through a few pages depending on what game you're playing to find your channel, right? So it's very hard the way Twitch is set up. So I highly recommend using YouTube or other social media to help you grow, because there's so many people that I know that they seem to come out of nowhere on Twitch, and they're all of a sudden they have so many viewers, and you're wondering, okay, well, like, wow, this person insta blew up, and then I found out, aha, they were on YouTube first. They're posting content on YouTube, or they're doing both at the same time. So their YouTube is pulling people into their live Twitch channel. So I definitely recommend it. I hired a YouTube editor for myself because that was one of those things that feels overwhelming. And I totally relate with the people feeling oh my gosh, I need the latest and greatest to start streaming, because I feel that way with YouTube, in the sense of maybe a little different, but the sense that, like, oh gosh, it needs to be perfect for me to post it. And, but maybe not, because then it ends up holding you back. But sometimes you just need to post things, like, get your name out there, be consistent with it. And you just never know, even if it's bringing one more person into your channel, if you're just starting out and you have 10 viewers and one new person, that's 10%, that's 10% more people than you had before.
Yeah, absolutely. So with streaming and another part of that fear that people may have with using a webcam, putting their face out there, putting their voice out there even, is just the overall gaming community itself. Now, the gaming community in its sense, very inclusive, very positive most of the time. But unfortunately, there are those moments in the gaming community where we run across a toxic player in game, or maybe
yeah.
a toxic person in chat. And I feel like for a lot of people, I know it was a fear of mine initially when we first started doing this was, you know, when we made that switch to starting the show on Twitch, it was like, okay, well, now my face is going to be on the internet. You know, now we're going to be posting this on YouTube. We're going to be sending these clips on Reddit. You know, we're going to be really putting ourselves out there. And, you know, it took a little bit for me to come to terms with, you know, people, the potential of people being toxic, whether it's on Twitch or to the podcast or in, you know, any of our other online spaces like Discord. You know, being, you know, a popular streamer out there also, but also being a woman in that space, you know, that's a different, you know, case altogether when it comes to online toxicity. How do you deal with, you know, in-game toxicity and also potential viewers that come onto your channel and they just kind of really cross that line? You know, just, you know, maybe for that new streamer and for experienced streamers also, and just really for people in general, a nice reminder on how we're supposed to treat other humans.
Yeah, so this has been definitely a process for me to learn. I feel like when I started streaming, I was much more of a sensitive person and somebody who I'm one of those people. I hate making other people mad or things like that, or knowing somebody's upset with me or not happy with me. And so I felt like I was very sensitive before I started. So I understand like how people feel, and people are gonna say things. But what I've learned over these past years streaming is that most of the time they just want your attention. They don't care how they get it. They just want your attention. And I learned this over the years because people at so many different times, people would come in and say something rude. And, you know, maybe you react, maybe you don't, but maybe they get timed out by your moderators, which PS, you have moderators on Twitch, or you can moderate. I still moderate for myself sometimes if I need to. And if you don't like somebody's comment, like you can just delete it. You can ban them. You have that power as a streamer. That is your space and you're fully in control of it. And you don't owe anybody any response either. But somebody would come in, they'd say something rude to me. They'd be timed out for 10 minutes. And that same person would come back 10 minutes later as if I had forgotten and be like, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful today. And I'm like, aha, you just want my attention. You don't care how you get it. You tried the mean route. It didn't work for you. So now you're going to try the nice route. So both comments from that kind of person are empty. You know, they just want your attention. And that's like, once I came to that realization, I stopped taking things personally. I didn't let things bother me. Another thing, and obviously this is everybody's personal preference, but the way that I've learned from my personal preference, which I actually learned about myself through soccer, because I play soccer just for fun and in an adult social league, but it's to not respond. Because for me, I notice I forget about it so much quicker if I don't respond and it happened in soccer where somebody was mouthing off and I said something back to them. They didn't even respond to me, but I think I lit a fire under them. And then they went and scored a goal on us instantly after. And I felt like, oh gosh, I should have just kept my mouth shut. I shouldn't have said anything. So from then on, I was like, I'm just not going to respond to people being that way. And I learned about myself that I forgot about it within a few minutes. But the people, especially on Twitch, when somebody says something to you and you're like, all right, I'm going to shut this troll down. I'm going to come back savage at them and wreck them with my comments. You know, you feel like that in your mind. Then even if because you always have the power. It's like being the comedian. You have the mic, you know, so you always have the power over them if they're in your Twitch channel. Like I said, because you can time them out. But I noticed that if I just ignored it and quietly deleted it versus responding back to them, like I seriously forgot about quicker. But the other way, I would eat away at me. And you have those thoughts like anytime you're in an argument with somebody later, right? You're like, oh, I should have said this. I should have said that. This would have been such a good comeback. But so I advise to just ignore people. And you don't always have to. I still don't always ignore people. Sometimes I respond. But for my own sanity, I learned that's best for me.
No, absolutely. In fact, one of our loyal viewers here on Level Up is actually one of our biggest trolls, but at least he trolls in a positive manner.
Yeah.
You know, like normally you have people that will clip the highlights for you from your stream. He will clip all of the errors possible and then ping us in Discord with the clip and be like, hey, you need to fix your mic, or what were you thinking here? Great looking face when your camera froze. It's like,
gosh.
you know, but I mean, it keeps you humble, you know, and it's nice to
Yeah.
have the interaction, and it's all in good fun. It never crosses that toxic line.
Yeah.
But I do have to ask, you know, some streamers take that toxic behavior from their viewers and turn that into a segment where they will go through accounts that are requesting to be unbanned in chat, so they can interact. I don't know if you've seen other people do this, but there's one streamer that I watch in the afternoon. He will have like a 1 hour segment just going through, you know, people reapplying to be unbanned, and they'll go through and expose all of their messages on stream. And then if, you know, the streamer feels that they're justified to be unblocked, or they served their sentence, if you will, then he unblocks them. Do you think that stuff like that would kind of promote that toxic behavior, or do you think that's just kind of taking the power away from the toxic individual and turning it into a form of entertainment?
I mean, you're definitely taking control of it and you're owning it, that behavior, and they're making content with it. I feel like it's definitely, that's worth it to do it if you have the personality that you're willing to take on in reliving or rereading these negative comments. For me, I know that's not my style, but I do think it for sure breeds that bad behavior, because if obviously these people that are acting this way and sending these messages, putting in these unbanned requests, they're getting highlighted. They're getting screen time from that streamer, right? So that for sure, you know, people out there like, oh, I want that kind of highlight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to act out. So I definitely think it promotes that behavior. But if somebody's making content from that, then they're just feeding you content for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the other things, so we've touched a bit on toxicity in Twitch chat. What are your thoughts on toxicity in gaming? And I hate that we have to have this conversation, but like a new game like Valorant, for example, a lot of females are afraid to talk in that game, in a game that relies heavily on communication. Have you experienced anything like that before?
Oh yeah, for sure. And Sea of Thieves, there's certain settings there's so many different settings within Xbox and such that will kind of not break your comms, but might turn it off when you don't realize it. So mine haven't worked for a while, but I honestly make no effort to fix it because I just don't want to hear people, because I PvP a lot. People get salty when you PvP, and obviously, and I definitely feel that way. Like sometimes I don't even feel like, when I did have game comms, I feel like I don't even want to say anything, because then they target you. But same like the people I was talking about before, is that because, you know, and as just coming from the standpoint of a woman, but everybody deals with toxicity, but you know, if you notice as a woman, and if you're a woman gamer out there, they always say the same things, right? It's always the same few words that they throw out at you, because they're easy go-tos. Because obviously, if somebody wants to be toxic towards you, they need to find something to get at you for. And even like guys, women, anybody, like, you know, as soon as you miss a shot, then like, oh, you stink, you know, you missed your shot. They have to wait for something to happen. But the thing is, obviously, if you're a woman, they already have so many of these derogatory go-to terms, but it's always the same terms that they use. So you can just say, wow, I haven't heard that one before, you know? So I feel like you just can't let it get to you. It's just all empty. I've definitely dealt with people that were targeting me in Sea of Thieves because they knew that I was streaming and just screaming through the microphone. But at that point, I feel like it's honestly just best to mute them. Like, you have nothing to gain from leaving them unmuted. You're not going to talk sense into that person. If you try to come back and reason with them, maybe like 1 in 100 you will, but most of the time you're not. I've definitely had some people that in Sea of Thieves, they were toxic to me, and I didn't respond to them. I maybe responded on stream and say like, wow, okay, this person's rude, you know? And then they come to my stream later, and then they got to go back and see my reaction. And I've had somebody realize like, wow, I was being rude, and they were extremely apologetic and felt really bad. So I appreciate them coming in and saying that, but most people are not. So I feel like it's just better to let them be and don't poke the bear. Not because of like and I want to be clear, I guess, to anyone listening out there, like, it's not because of, oh, I'm like weak, I'm not going to stand up for myself. No, it's more the opposite, because I've realized for myself, like, I don't want to give that person my attention. They don't deserve my attention, so I'm going to move on, you know?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just the overarching message here is, you know, it's a golden rule. Treat people with respect. You know, at the end of the day, we're all humans. we all have, that emotional response. If, what's wrong with being encouraging? That's one thing I've never understood. Is like, if someone misses a shot, instead of dogging on them, why not just say, hey, better luck next time, or, oh, that was a tough shot, build them up, have that encouragement. Because, I mean, regardless if you're, a kid in a sports team, whether you're a gamer online or whether you're an adult in a workplace, no one likes being around that toxic person. No one likes being around that person that's constantly putting people down. They want to be around that positive influence, the person that's building everyone up, building that team together. So I absolutely love your response there for that. And I think it's a very, very good message out there for everyone, just, kind of brush off the haters, but and build up that positivity.
For sure. And I've just noticed as well over the years that obviously the more that you respond, they just want to like dig deeper at you. But if you ignore them, then they're not getting what they want. They want a reaction. They want to feel like, because a lot of times I've noticed too, like, not to get too deep, but those are people that are the people that act that way are being hurt usually from something else. And gaming, sadly, is their way to take it out on people because they're anonymous for the most part, other than maybe a gamer tag. But so they have that moment too. But, I think it's just, don't give them that satisfaction of letting them know. Because then sometimes, I mean, think about it. Like, let's say somebody's being rude in a game and you don't respond. And then they're sitting there wondering, well, they actually hear me? Did I just like yell that at nobody and they didn't hear me? And I don't know. And I've had people come in that will be like, and I go against them in Sea of Thieves and they recognize me and then come in after and they're like, saying things like, oh, sorry, I was rude. Sorry, I killed you. I'm like, I didn't hear you. I don't have game comms, And then it almost leaves them kind of feeling silly because then here they've made this thing and they have to come in, but nobody even heard them say it,
So, Dee, we've covered a lot for aspiring streamers. We've dove into setups and when to upgrade. We've talked about YouTube videos. We've dove into toxicity in chat. If you take away 3 things from this, what would you say to aspiring streamers as far as 3 tips going in as a new streamer with all of this big wide road of knowing really what to expect in general? Because you could have a toxic chat, you could have a very small chat, you could have a giant chat just out of nowhere. There's just so many different factors that you can't really know going into starting out streaming. Yeah. What are 3 tips you'd offer to aspiring streamers?
Okay, so the first one that I would recommend is to just always keep talking. When you hit that go live button, you should always pretend you have an audience, because sometimes you do and you may not realize it. There's so many times where I've gone into smaller streamer or friends that are starting out streaming and they're not talking. They're just sitting there staring at, that their game playing. There's nothing going on beyond them just staring at them. Like, you gotta give people something, give them something to hold them into your community, to be part of the conversation. So I tell people, just keep talking. Seriously, like, pretend you're a radio host and even if you get no feedback from your chat, just keep talking. And if you have a hard time thinking of maybe small talk conversations, write some down so you have them and you can just peek at it and say, okay, I just watched this movie yesterday. Has anybody seen this movie? And talk about it. And if you have a hard time with that, then maybe pull in friends on Discord to play the game with you. So that way you can have that conversation with them. And then if there is somebody new who comes in and watches your channel, then they can dive in that conversation with you. I think that's a big miss that people don't notice, is they're off when they think nobody's in there. But then, if somebody does pop in, they're not getting the content they're hoping for. So then they leave sometimes. So that's probably number 1. Number 2 is, I always tell people to try to be consistent. It's really hard sometimes. I understand that because we all have lives outside of Twitch, right? And families and things to do. So, but if you can try to be consistent, it really, really does pay off. And I'm talking about, like I said, and obviously you can choose. The beauty of streaming is you can do what you want with it. You can play the games you want. You can stream when you want, everything. But I always compare it to a TV show. Back before streaming was streaming like on Netflix, Hulu, etc. was a big thing. Like Game of Thrones, even, for example. When Game of Thrones was on, I loved Game of Thrones. It was on, let's say, like 10 p.m. or whatever it was every Sunday night. So I was like, all right, that's what I'm doing at that time. That's what I'm scheduling myself to do. And I knew it would be on that time. But imagine if they were like, oh, it might be on sometime this week. We're not sure when. We'll let you know when the next episode is. You're like, oh, I can't keep up with that. So I feel like it's the same thing with streaming. If you tell people, even if it's one day a week for a few hours, like, all right, every Wednesday night at whatever time, I'm going to be live. Then people know when to show up for you. People that enjoyed your content know when to come back. I feel like that's important. And for my third thing, I feel like you just ultimately, I think you just have to have fun with it. And remember that content creation is supposed to be fun and supposed to be sharing your experiences and your creativity. So don't feel like you have to put yourself in a box, and don't feel like, okay, the big game right now is League of Legends, so I should play League of Legends. Sometimes that's not the right choice. Sometimes you choosing what you want is the right choice. I've for sure had my ups and downs, especially like we talked about. I started my streaming career with Clash Royale. Clash Royale definitely got to its point where it was fading off, and I had to make the decision of, ooh, long term, I don't think this is going to be sustainable for me to continue growing. So I made the choice to switch games, and I had some failures in there. I tried to play Dead by Daylight full time, could not get over low concurrent viewers. And I was used to having higher concurrent viewers, of course, with Clash Royale. Could not make, I don't know why. I think because it was so different from Clash Royale. And I tried the same thing with Hearthstone. I love Hearthstone. I couldn't grow. I could not grow in Hearthstone. A lot of people are successful with it. I wasn't. So I felt like, you know what? I like Sea of Thieves because I like the graphics in that game. So I'm just going to start playing that. And it, like, once I kind of felt like, okay, I stopped focusing on what am I supposed to do. And I just said, this is what I want to do. Then it all fell into place. It really did.
And of course, and Sea of Thieves has just blown up in itself. And
Yeah.
you've been around with Sea of Thieves since beta for Sea of Thieves. And, you know, it's a game that Joey and I, our good friend Pat, we try to play. Our other crewmate Dana, we attempt to play Sea of Thieves. I do have to say, it was the morning party boat that convinced me not to wear the Reaper costume anymore. Cause it just like, I didn't feel like I lived up to wearing it, and just like the negative stigma that came with it. I was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. No, I'm not saying that's like a bad thing or anything. I'm just saying like, I was just
they were like,
no.
oh, you know, that's a squeaker.
Yeah, it's like
a kid.
And I was just sitting, it was going like, and I remember like the first time, like, it felt like some 8-year-old boarded our ship, and he was like, oh, there were a bunch of Reapers. These guys are noobs. And I was like, I'm not a noob.
Like,
that's,
no,
that's
not.
cool. It's like I played this for a bit, and it was great. But no, I mean, Sea of Thieves has really developed into this game, and it's a game that's still evolving.
Oh yeah.
You know, I absolutely love the Tall Tales. I enjoy PvP also, but I really do enjoy a really good story. So when it comes to the Tall Tales, I try to get really involved with the story side of the game. But the game itself, again, is just grown year after year after year. Since being there since beta, what are some of the really cool changes you've seen over the years for Sea of Thieves?
Man, they've added so much. So pause really quick, because I do want to say I did the same thing with the outfit. There's the like Crab Lord outfit, because it's one of the first cool looking outfits you get. And I used to wear that all the time until somebody on stream told me like, oh, that's like known as like a cringe kind of outfit. And I was like, wow, it took so long for people to tell me. Okay, so because all right, so back to the question that kind of ties in is when it first came out in beta, I just kind of played it on and off because of course, in the beginning, they were just starting out, and you would kind of accomplish things like, you know, doing a gold hoarder quest, and you dig up treasure, and then you sell it, and then you're kind of feeling, all right, now what? And so it was a little lacking content at first, as far as that's concerned, but then they started adding more. Like they started adding the Kraken and Skull Forts and the Meg. One of my favorite times that would happen, because when the Meg first came out, maybe some people will remember, but there was only one Megalodon shark. You had to have 5 people, which meant you had to work with another crew. You all had to play the same tune of music to summon it at a certain part on the map. And I found some kids on this server, and they were just so funny. They were hot micing, and you could hear them saying, do you think they're going to backstab us after? What should we do? Should we backstab them? And then as we're fighting this shark, and I had a clip of it, and Twitch deleted it. Oh, feels bad, but I mean, this kid, as we're in the middle of shooting the shark and fighting it, he's like, if you mess with my friends, I'll mess with your face. And it's just such a like like a kid I don't know, like banter. It was so funny. But So I think once they started adding things like that, then I'm like, that is a moment I'll always remember because it was so funny. And they just have added so much more, I think, to encourage people to play the game that they want to play. You have so many options. Like you said, you like the stories. So they added those tall tales. And there's so many people that love the lore of the game. And there's books that you can follow as well, and a comic book. And, there's people that love to chill and fish. And then there's people and I kind of progressed with it as well. Like I really didn't do too much PvP until I realized they were going to come out with Arena. And then I felt like, oh man, I need to really work on my PvP here. So I just started fighting anybody and everybody that I saw. And then eventually, and I started playing with other streamers that were really into PvP that would teach me different things. Like I used to play with a guy, Coop, and man, he was the one that would push me to try different things or to go fight people. And it showed me a whole other side of the game where I was like, this is fun, like hiding on somebody's ship. And I felt like, man, that's good. That's got to be so boring. But the moment when they walk by you and they have no idea you're there is just so fun to me. And it really hooked me in. So I feel like my play style has evolved with the game as well.
So D, just hopping back to the Megalodons quickly.
Yeah.
There's this rumor that goes around, maybe a tall tale, maybe a legend, but this shrouded ghost. Have you ever encountered one of those in your years on Sea of Thieves?
No, never. I've still never ever seen it.
I swear it doesn't exist.
I know.
It does not exist.
It's terrible. One of these days, I was looking at my hours. I don't know what my offline hours are, but my hours of streaming the game, just streaming it, is 3,100 hours. I'm like, so at least out of that, I've never seen the Shrouded Ghost. How is that possible?
Wow.
Like, you really want to tweet Rare, be like, hey, you said you put this in the game. It is an in-game achievement. I've never seen it. No one I know has ever seen it. It's become like a gigantic meme for Sea of Thieves, and there's like,
I know,
the one or two people who claim they have seen it, and you're just like, I don't.
Coop is one of them. That streamer, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah. One day we will find the Shrouded Ghost. But I want to touch a little bit on the morning party boat, something that you do in the mornings with Alex, and I believe Burger Warrior's on there as well, and some other fellow streamers that you guys get together. First off, I'm going to fanboy a little bit. I absolutely love the morning party boat. I think it is fantastic. The interaction that all the streamers have together, it feels genuine. It's very entertaining. I am one of those people that have that up at work in the morning when I'm still trying to wake up and drink my coffee, which may or may not be Madrina's. I'm not gonna.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah. I can
as long as it's coffee.
As long as it's coffee. Madrina's. I actually do have those pods, but we're not going to talk about that real quick. But, no, it's fantastic, and I'm just kind of curious. How did that all come together? How did you meet Alex and the rest of the crew, and just like how does that evolved over time to? Now I'm going to use your words. You said sweaty PvP. Server hopping, diving into Australia servers, that horrific 300 ping I witnessed. But I will say this, that same feeling I get when I'm yoinking loot off of another ship, I get that feeling watching, your stream, Alex's stream, Burger's stream, when you guys are all together. It's awesome, and you guys do a really great job. How did that whole thing come together? How'd you get connected with them?
Okay, so it all started when, I guess it was probably about, Alex started streaming in November of last year. So he's probably been streaming for about a year and a half now, but he and I streamed at the same schedule. So I stream about 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. So 7:30 to 2 Eastern. And he did pretty much the exact same hours that I did. And there's not a lot of streamers that are live during that time. That's kind of a switch off period. You have your overnighters with their crazy sleep schedules that stream, the graveyard shift. And then you have your people that are getting ready and starting maybe around 9 or 10 a.m. So there weren't many other people playing. And then he just DM'd me one day on Twitter and he said, hey, would you want to play together sometime? Like, I noticed we have the same schedule. So I said, yeah, sure, let's play. And our first time playing together, we went and yoinked a 4 to the dam, just the two of us. And we had such a fun time, man. And he's a really good player. He comes from a background of competitive Halo. So he just naturally can carry that over to Sea of Thieves, and he's just a great PvPer. So I've learned a lot from him as well. And so I think, definitely pulled me more. I really enjoyed the PvP side, but I was, I guess I didn't come from any background of competitive shooting games. I didn't really play any shooting games until Alex pushed me into playing Warzone, and now I love Warzone. But so and then we just started, we would play every now and then, and got to a point where, like, do you want to just like start? And he kind of initiated it. He's the idea. He comes up with great ideas for things, and he's like, let's just start doing this every day. And for the way we work is just kind of the way we stream, like laid back, chill. Like if you want to go stream with somebody else one day, we're like, okay, cool, have fun, And it's just no stress. Like, and it's just kind of like an open door policy to our other streamer friends too. We always tell them, like, you want to join us, come join us. Like, we're just all about the more the merrier, and caffeine in our veins. Alex more so than me. That man always has some energy. So that's kind of how it came about.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I love the relaxed atmosphere you guys bring as well to the ship.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to wake up in the morning. It's not something too boisterous or too crazy, but it's a way to ease into the day. And you guys are just great entertainers as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun time. And he and I also are just very similar, like with our attitude about things. We're both, for the most part, family friendly. If we aren't, it's usually from just somebody else being on our stream, but which is helpful to have that, because that is a whole other market, and we both kind of have tapped into that market. And just about, promoting good times, and like if you get sunk, like we both have the same attitude of who cares, like whatever, let's go back and fight him again. And that really makes a difference. Like we were talking about earlier, teammates attitudes make a big difference as well. And he's somebody I really enjoy playing with him because of that, and because he's like a let's go get him. Like if we sink, all right, let's stock up, let's load up, let's go back again. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Absolutely. That get right back up, let's go right at him attitude once again. Gotta love it. So with that in mind, Dee, we have a new seasonal format that started at the beginning of this year in 2021 for Sea of Thieves. What are your thoughts of them moving from monthly updates to more 3-month kind of seasonal updates?
Well, I do say that I liked having monthly updates because it does keep the content fresh. However, I love the idea. I'm one of those people, I like having things to work on. I really do. Like the commendations in the game, there's some that are so deep and take so long. I'm still working on them, but I love the idea of that. The season pass. And I played that, like Clash Royale eventually introduced that a while ago. And I noticed that same for Brawl Stars, for mobile games, it pulls you back into playing. It gives you something to do. Even if you only have a little bit of time to dedicate to the game for that day, you have something you can accomplish within the game by working on the season pass and the plunder pass if you get it. So I really like that concept. I think we'll see if they balance it. I think a lot of people, even our super casual players, got through it fairly quickly. So we'll see if I know that I'm obviously on the other extreme of a casual player. It's a job, so I got it pretty quickly. But I'm happy that they're still doing updates and all their DLCs are free. I do so appreciate that about their game, that they do that. And they're so inclusive with the community as well. So I like everything that they're doing.
All right, perfect. So what we're going to do, we're going to open it up real quick. We are coming to the end of the show. We don't want to hold you too long. We know it is a Thursday night. We're getting ready for the weekend. It's Friday Eve, as I like to say. I'm definitely looking forward to the weekend. So chat, if there's any questions you would like to ask Dee, we can definitely get that here on stream in the last few moments we have here. Panicking Pat. I'm pretty sure that name sounds familiar for everyone here. Our good friend Pat, who is like right down the street from me. I should have just had him come over for this.
Yeah, he's gonna train my doggy, Minkus.
He was saying that. He was saying that that he was gonna start doing that. Pat is awesome. He
needs it.
He has 2 amazing pitties at his house that I absolutely adore. Every time I go over, I call them my girls. I absolutely love Inca and Sky. They're just fantastic dogs, and Pat does an amazing job. So look, hey, if you need Pat to be your dog trainer, this is a shameless plug for Pat. I don't even care.
I do.
The dude is amazing.
He just casually threw it out there one day as streaming, and then we were thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? Like he's just kind of said, like, in the way of like, hey, just FYI, if you ever need it, I'm here. very nicely done. But I was like, I need it. I definitely need it.
Pat is
please,
the
please
guy.
train him. He's still a puppy, and those puppy times. Ooh.
Those can be brutal. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Pat has a question, and he likes asking this question, especially when I'm streaming Life is Strange or any of the Life is Strange runoffs, because those are games that kind of make you think a little bit, kind of reflect about how you interacted with the game. I don't know if you played Life is Strange at all?
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh my God. Okay. One of my best streams I ever had was Life is Strange, the original episode 5. Towards the end, all of a sudden chat started blowing up and they're like, oh my God, he's going to cry. He's going to cry. I'm like, why am I going to cry? And then without spoiling, something happened. And I was like, do not cry on camera. This is what they want. They want to see you cry. Do not cry on camera. I absolutely love it. I think Life is Strange is one of the best games that incorporates what modern society is dealing with on a social level, on a moral level, on just like a human interaction level, and brings it in a video game format that the gamer can really, if they can connect with the story and they put themselves in the shoes of the main character, can really challenge someone's beliefs. And Pat asks really tough questions to me at the end of these streams, and it makes me really think. So his question for you is, what is your I'm gonna read it verbatim. What is your biggest failure, and how did it change your life? I'm assuming for the positive.
So is this a life in general, or is this a streaming and gaming driven question?
Let's see here, Pat. Is that
verify?
What do you say, Pat? Because I think I have one for each, but whichever one. In general.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think probably my greatest failure, I think, I guess not to get too deep, but I think when I was towards the end of high school for myself, I got so focused on I hung out with the wrong people. And I think it really drugged me down and held me back from a lot of things that I wish I had done. And just so many different things. There's obviously a lot of us, I'm sure, look back and like, I should have done this, I should have done that. But I think I held myself back from a lot of things because I was hanging out with these people, and my priorities were so askew when I was at that age. I mean, people see me now, and I feel like if you see me like who I am today versus like back then, it's just very different. But it changed my life. Well, I will say what changed my life is because I mentioned I was working at that modeling and acting school. And I think one of my greatest failures is that I just didn't really have the right people to look up to. I looked up to the wrong people and thought the wrong people were cool, kind of thing. So I worked at that modeling and acting school for a long time. I worked there as a teacher. And then the next step up is locally. You can go to their main office, but locally, you can work as the director of education, which is kind of, you're running the show. It's a weekend class for students, to give context. But so they were training me to do this. So they paired me up with this woman who's going to train me. And man, this woman seriously changed my life. Her name was Pamela. And just, I think without it, like, her intent was to teach me how to do this job, but she totally changed my life. And she became such a good example of somebody I felt like, oh my gosh, I want to be just like her. And she was a positive person to look at in that way. So I think doing that and realizing like, I want more for myself. I can be, I don't have to like focus on these negative things and like, I don't know. There's just so many things that are not important that were important to me that shouldn't be. And these are the things that need to be important, being successful and being driven like she was. So I think I slowly turned that way. So I think I let myself down and held myself back from doing a lot of things that I really wanted to do. And I think that was my greatest failure. But, I'm happy with where I've turned out now, of course, but wish I had changed some things. And then as far as gaming, I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, but it was a really uphill battle for me after I switched games from Clash Royale, and especially because, like I mentioned, like I had pretty quick success with Clash Royale, and I think it's because I used to host these tournaments. And in the game, they would have these tournaments for a short period of time that in real life money, if I'm not mistaken, they were like $700 or so to start. A lot of money. Like, who's playing those mobile games? Kids. Kids don't have $700 to start this tournament. But I got linked up with somebody who has an esports team who did, and so he would fund the tournaments, and I would be the place to host it. So people would come in my stream to join these tournaments and play. And so it really brought me quick success with it. And and I would cast these tournaments just on my stream. And that's how I got noticed as somebody who could cast the game. And so that was great. And then, like I mentioned, I had probably my pinnacle of my life as far as career wise when I casted or hosted the World Finals in London for CCGS World Finals. And it's on YouTube if you can just look it up if anyone wants to see it. I've got some crazy gold boots on. You can't miss them. But I think after that, it was like reaching a peak, and then it was a really quick downhill from there for me because Clash Royale was slowly I hate to say dying out, but it kind of was. It just wasn't what it used to be on Twitch anymore. Fortnite really kind of hurt it because, like I said, a lot of the younger crowd would play Clash Royale, and that's who started playing Fortnite. So I think it really hurt them back in 2017 when Fortnite came out. And I noticed that, and it was a really hard mental battle for me. Obviously, like, you go from having success to then, and going from having like hundreds of concurrent viewers down to like 20 to 40 concurrent viewers. And I know I understand that's a lot of viewers for some people, but it's relative to me and to my stream. So relative to me, it was a big change, and it really it's really so hard not to get down on yourself and feel like, gosh, I'm not good at this. I'm not doing things right. I'm failing. And so trying to overcome that was really hard. So I don't know if that was a failure per se, but I think it maybe more so one of my hardest moments. And then, like I mentioned, trying to play other games, and I think I just chose the wrong games, but I didn't know it. I tried those other games like Dead by Daylight, which I had already been playing some, and Hearthstone for a while, and I just couldn't grow. And that really, really hurts you mentally, man. It's a struggle because you feel like, why? Like, what am I not bringing to the table? What don't I have that these other streamers have? What am I missing? And you're deep diving and you're comparing your numbers. And I think that it changed me, and my biggest change from it and overcoming it was just pushing through and turning off my numbers. I stopped looking at my numbers, but more than that, I stopped looking at other people's numbers and stopped comparing myself to them and just tried to have fun with it. And it was a slow process, but I learned that, I mean, like, you're not in this world with content creation, you're not always going to be on top. You're going to have your influxes, and you just got to ride it out. Or, and you can always decide, like, you can always choose to feel like, all right, this isn't for me anymore. And I haven't come to that point yet, but I got really close in the past. So yeah, it's been a journey for me.
Yeah, Hearthstone has created some journeys betwon Jon and I as well. He actually struggled to beat the Innkeeper originally. Go figure.
I don't want to talk about
it. Has he giving you cards?
No, so I used to play Magic the Gathering, and that game made sense to me. But when Hearthstone came out, and I absolutely love Blizzard lore. I'm a big World of Warcraft, old school Warcraft, like StarCraft 2, Brood War, everything. So I was like, Hearthstone was like, cool, awesome. It's a card game. I can get back into it. And for whatever reason, I could not comprehend that game whatsoever. And it took me forever. I eventually did get past the Innkeeper, contrary to what Joey likes to throw out there. It did take some time, but I finally did beat the Innkeeper to actually get into the game and then quickly uninstalled.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Thanks, Joey. I appreciate that.
So let's just go one or two more questions from chat here, D. This one from, hey, it's Ian B. If you weren't streaming Sea of Thieves, what other game do you think you'd stream?
Well, I think I really love Phasmophobia. I think I would maybe consider streaming Phasmophobia because I just love that. And like I said, I've really gotten into Warzone, and that was my first legit FPS game. I mean, I guess you can call Sea of Thieves that, but it's not like a battle royale FPS that, we're thinking of. Like that kind of game, like Fortnite, Valorant, all that stuff, or what's the other, Apex. But and I really enjoy it. There's times where I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood to play it. So I think I would be down to stream that as well.
All right. And then the last question we have here from chat comes from Walker TN. And he says, I just lost the question. Oh, what do you do to unwind or get away from the screen? I know for myself, I enjoy sitting down, playing some music and just kind of vibing out. Or maybe it's binge watching a show on Netflix. But we all have to have that unwind time. What do you do to unwind when you're not streaming?
Okay, so to unwind, I love some Netflix. I think one of my favorite things to do is just to watch movies or TV shows. And this is maybe kind of lame, but I've been really into this mobile game, if you can call it that. It's like your mom's kind of mobile game or your dad's kind of mobile game. It's called nonograms or nonograms. It's almost kind of like it's kind of like Sudoku but with blocks, and you have like numbers on these blocks, and you have to fill in. I don't even know how to explain it, but I saw ads for it a million times before I played it. And then one of my friends told me to try it. And I'm so into it. And I've been into it for a few weeks. So I really like to play that off stream right now.
It kind of, and if I'm looking at the right version of this, it kind of looks like that old Minesweeper game that used to come on.
It's kind of like Minesweeper. Oh
my
let's
gosh.
see if I can show.
Does Minesweeper even come like pre-installed on Windows anymore? Like I feel
I hope so.
I feel like we're dating ourselves.
I know, right? That and the this like it's like
there it is.
Oh,
you have these squares and you have to fill in the blocks. But I like that. Earlier today, I watched the movie Mr. Right because my chat, I think Astra maybe told me to watch it because everyone comes in. I have a counter for it for the amount of people that come in my stream and tell me that I look like Anna Kendrick.
Oh my goodness.
and I was like, you know what? I haven't even seen anything with Anna Kendrick in it except The Accountant. I hadn't seen Pitch Perfect, so they all harassed me. So I went and watched Mr. Right with her in it this afternoon and played my no-grams.
Oh, Pitch Perfect is a great one too.
Yes, absolutely.
I need to
100%.
watch that.
It's very good.
Yeah, Pitch Perfect is great movie. Highly
Okay.
recommend. We'll leave it there. All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. We just eclipsed the hour mark here. So Dee, thank you again so much for joining us here on Level Up Live. Thank you so much for your energy and your positivity that you bring to the platform as well. It's always great to see more positive streamers and more influencers get out there and just put that positive energy out into the world. It's something that all of humanity needs. We need more positivity in the world.
Yeah. Especially now.
Exactly. 100%. So thank you so much for everything. Thank you for joining us here. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. It is a scripted close. I'll go ahead and just throw that out there. I say it real fast, but we'll just wrap it up real quick. Now, if you want to, we offer this to everyone that we interview at the very end of the show. We tell people to level up, just as kind of like a fun positivity kind of thing at the end. And Joey and I attempt to say it at the same time. It almost never works. So we try to make it as mangled as possible. So at the end we go we say, be nice to your fellow gamers online. And as always, awkward pause. And then we all say level up.
Can I say it too?
Absolutely.
Course,
absolutely.
yes,
We're inviting you to join in. We're going to try to do this. Chat. Remember, we just talked about being positive. So I don't want any hate coming in through chat. I don't want to see anything in Dee's chat in the morning be like, oh, you guys can't say level up at the same time. I want it all positive. All positive.
Now, before we jump into that, though, Dee, do you want to shout out your socials as well, where
Yes.
to find you on Twitter and Twitch once again?
Okay, sure. So I'm on Twitch more than any social. Just BBXH on Twitch. And Twitter is BBXH_Twitch. And TikTok and Instagram is BB_XH. I hate they're all different. I'm so sorry. They are.
100% failure there. Okay, just real quick, because it caught my eye. You can beatbox?
No!
No,
Oh,
you
yeah,
just-
that's,
that too.
that's
I
my
know.
husband in the chat. Hey,
he's
bring
trolling.
Minkus up here so they can see Minkus. I'm so bad at beatboxing. You guys will probably just have to immediately turn this off if I attempt it. It's so bad and embarrassing. I can just say boots and cats.
But I mean, that's all you
Boots
have
and
to
cats
say.
and boots and cats and boots and cats.
Joey, go ahead and lay down a few bars. Come on.
Okay?
Come on.
But if my real one, if I'm really like, if I didn't, somebody taught me to say boots and cats, so now that's my saving grace. But otherwise, it's so bad.
All right. And are we bringing the doggo up?
Are we bringing Minkus? Oh, here's Minkus.
All right.
Oh.
A first for Level Up Live, our first dog on air.
Oh, this is my little Ewok baby Minkus.
So fluffy.
Joey does not like Ewoks.
I love this Ewok. No, I am fine with Ewoks.
You were terrified of what was a Battlefront with the Ewok mode or something. Like it was terrifying.
Scary. Yeah,
that's terrifying.
That is terrifying.
I just got him about 3 weeks ago, so this is the little one that Pat's gonna be training to be a good doggy.
Oh boy, Pat!
Stop eating my socks.
Pat, I think you're gonna have your hands full with this dog.
Oh yeah.
It's
calm right now, but he's crazy.
Be like the Battle of Endor training him.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up so we can get everyone going. We don't want to keep D too long. It is a little past 9 o'clock here Eastern time, so we'll just wrap this up real quick. Let me go ahead and get our cool outro music going because everyone loves that. Oh, there it is. All right, Level Up Nation, a big thank you to D once again as we close out here Level Up Live. But before you go, head over to patreon.com/OTN. And if you would like to, we see a few new followers here. We do have a Patreon as well. So do check it out. If you do would like to feel free to become a member here at OTN, you're more than welcome to. We do offer other content there as well. And also make sure you follow us here on Twitch, OTN underscore. So OTN, I'm going off my notes, Joe. I'm going rogue. All right. So if you have not already done so, we're going to get back on track here. Make sure you follow the show here on Twitch to get your next episode of Level Up Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, please do leave us a review. Level Up Podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from all of our community so much, Joey. We have other ways for them to reach out to us. Where can you go to interact with us, Joey?
Absolutely. Level Up Nation and newcomers as well. You can find us on Twitter at Level Up Live. That's LVL UP Live. In addition to that, we are on Facebook and Instagram as well as Twitter at OTN Media. That's the umbrella company here that hosts Level Up. Last but not least, guys, we are on Twitch, twitch.tv/OTN Media. We appreciate follows. We appreciate subs. We absolutely love it. And just even if you're just going to come hang out and chat, you are more than welcome to do so. This show, Level Up, is Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right, make sure you tune in this upcoming Monday, April 12th, for the next edition of Level Up Live. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Hit that sub and follow button to know the next time we are live. We'll catch you all on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. We will catch you on Monday. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online. Here we go. We all ready? And
ready.
As always,
Level up.
Level up. No! Wait, can we do that one more time?